vision is showing, it's showing. But yeah, we keep going and going. But it's family forever. We've done it over and over.
If you know
We
you're not
have reached the end. How do we get through life? Do we have to fight? Outwake ourselves, spark the willing night. Maybe we can redefine what it means to get you time. Now we take the chance to fight the fight we seek. We can make a getaway. Understand is the end. Maybe we can break away. Here we stand. Run away before we surrender. Run away before we surrender. We can make a getaway. Understand is the end. Maybe we can break away. Here we stand. Run away before we surrender. We can make a getaway. Understand is the end. Maybe we can break away. Here we stand. Run away before we surrender. Run away before we surrender.
Hello and welcome everybody. It is that time of the week, time to round out the Formula One Misfits Racing League action here with the APAC Division, and joining me as ever for the APAC action is of course Seb. Seb, how are you doing today, my friend?
Great as always. How are you yourself, Unicorn?
Yeah, very good, very good. Singapore so far has provided a lot of interesting strategy calls, a lot of interesting battles over on the track. Some particularly interesting overtakes as well in places. I don't think anyone was expecting to get them, but yeah, Singapore today, APAC Division. I'm looking forward to this one, seeing what they produce. We don't have a huge number of drivers on the grid at this moment in time. I don't know if there's going to be any late surprise comers, but right now, just over into that double digits at the moment, but mostly the top 10. So we've still got a good few championship battles going on this grid. That's for sure. And with the strategy, we'll see how that plays into things. Speaking of the championship, we do, of course, have the standings. And, well, we have got a very, well, I was going to say a lot of close battles. But for the lead right now, Ben the Bear Seb sort of running away. 308 points to Mikhail's 249. It's becoming quite the runaway, especially for the Mercedes squad as a whole, with Captain of Gold there in third. Then, of course,
exactly.
Remco Van Putten in fourth.
Trin is no longer with us now. He's in fifth. Emzo, 66 points. Panda, 7th. Cello in 8th. In the other McLaren, those two have been battling out with each other, but also keeping it very fair between each other. Combined in 9th. Centric in 10th. T-Mac in 11th. In that Haas, he's had a great season so far. Stars is not with us tonight. He's got other commitments in that AlphaTauri. And while Sid in 13th. Shrimp 14th. Rez 15th, Sandeezy 16th, Matt 17th, Yukio 18th. And just in news, we have replacements. Dor Shui's replacing Helium at Williams, and Chris will be joining Renault for the remainder of the season.
Absolutely, we're just loading in now for that short qualifying session, and we'll see how this one goes with a few number of drivers. We were speaking to Mikhail just before we went live here, and well, tyre wear around here, particularly on the softs, they don't last very long, and you want to try and get that one stop, save yourself that extra pit stop. So a lot of people, they want that medium hard, they want that one stop. And given that there's so few people on this grid, qualifying on the mediums in this session should be a lot easier than if there was a full 20 driver grid, because it doesn't really matter where your pace lies, because you can probably get into the top 10 on that medium compound. So very, very interesting. There we are. We do only have 11 drivers right now on this grid. And you can see there that already we have got people hopping onto the mediums. And that might have been their strategy coming into this. But we'll see how long it takes for them to come out. Because obviously if you're wanting to qualify on the mediums, you want to wait until the end of the session. We'll see if anyone gets out on the softs, at least to put a bit of rubber on the track. But just to go through, we've got Dor Shui there at the top. Eccentric, Cello, Combined YouTuber, Panda, Ben the Bear, Matt, Mikhail, Captain of Gold, Emzo, and Sand Easy on tonight's grid. And like I said, most of those guys are in that top 10. Obviously, we've got the championship leaders, Ben, Mikhail, Captain there, the two Mercedes, and the AlphaTauri. We don't have Remco Van Putten, so that sort of hurts his chances of, you know, maybe hunting down Captain of Gold for that P3 in the standings. And I think with only a few drivers on the grid here, Captain of Gold, this is a great opportunity for him to gain a lot of points and give himself a little advantage for that third place in the standings.
Yeah, you're right about that. Captain of Gold obviously trying to seek down that P2 position in the championship from Mikhail, who is decent 80 points ahead of him. But it's just interesting to see how the strategy will play out. As we said, only 11 drivers, and the mediums and hards tend to be a lot better race tyres than the softs. So we'll see what these drivers go for. It looks like we've got a lot of people on the softs already. Yeah.
Apparently there might be a little bit of rain at the end of the race as well, so that could spice things up depending on how early and how heavy that comes down. If we see a little tyre dynamic at the end, you know, we definitely saw that at some points this season. We've got, you know, Hungary was really one for late wet weather conditions. We had both strategies in Tier 3 where it went from, I want to say, wet to dry, and no, dry to wet, and then in Americas it was the opposite, the reverse. Both saw some huge losses and some huge gains. Meanwhile, we've got Cello right now. He's on the soft compound tyres, obviously qualifying right here, bone dry, not a single drop of water in sight, and we'll see what he could produce. He will be the first person to do a lap, but I doubt he'll be the first person to settle lap. Ben, interestingly enough, is out on the medium tyres, as is Dor Shui. But we've seen Ben Seb do a fairly few interesting qualifying strategies, so I wonder whether he's actually going to qualify on softs to give himself some sort of an alternate strategy here.
Yeah, well, we know how fast he is. When he finishes on the podium, he always gets a win. As we see Cello, looks like he'll be going for medium runs. This is just going to be a warm-up lap, as you can tell by how he invalidated by crossing the white lines on the main straight. So this will just be a bit of a throwaway, but it's always good to get some warm-up in. Just get your eye and spot those braking points, spot the turning points, look out for your markers, see how the car is performing under these night lights. And as you said, with that rain, this is the longest race in all of the calendar. I believe this goes over 50 minutes for this 50% race, 50% distance of Singapore. And there's a high chance that we could get that light rain at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. This race, you know, with safety cars, etc., it's not uncommon to see these ones stretch over to an hour long. So we'll see how it goes here, and it's, you know, pretty excellent for us that it doesn't fall on a Formula 1 weekend. Otherwise, we might be a little bit pressed for time. But we've got Cello here on the invalidated run. Let's have a look at Ben the Bear. He is flying on the mediums, and we'll see whether he invalidates this. I doubt he will, given that he is on that harder compound tyre compared to everyone but Dor Shui, who I think might be flying just ahead of him there. He is, and he's actually pulled off. So already dropping that lap in the Williams. But Ben the Bear now coming down through turn 10 into the Singapore sling. And we'll ride on board with him for the rest of this lap. Coming out of 12 now, down into 13, where this new DRS straight is. Opening it up there. It's the second of 3 DRS straights on the track. Obviously, the first being out of turn 5, the last being the start-finish straight, coming out of the last corner. Ben the Bear now coming through 15 into 16, 17, sector 3. All of these 90-degree corners. And it's not the only week we'll have of right-hand corners. Next week in Russia, there's a lot of them here. But we've got Sand Easy, 135.6. He sets a time. We'll see what Ben could do on the mediums. Coming through into 22, through into 23. That double left-hander. A massive lap, a 133.1.
I think there's no surprise there. Just these soft runners trying to make sure they can beat their time later on in the quality session on medium tyres.
Oh, everyone else coming into the pit lane, getting themselves done and dusted. Even Dor Shui, who was on the mediums, he's called it quits. I don't think we've got anyone right now out on an active flyer. It doesn't appear so. Combined YouTuber, he might start one. We'll go on board with the Ferrari, even though he is on an outlap at present. He's not been having a bad season. He's 9 points ahead of his teammate Eccentric, both of whom here tonight on the grid. And Seb, with the few people that we've got on the grid tonight, opens up, you know, a podium for a few people that may not have been up there already. But it does, you know, alleviate. We probably won't see too many traffic jams that, you know, the strategy calls around Singapore can create.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This could be some big points hauls for drivers, especially like Combined, who has that. In terms of race pace, he's not the fastest, but he is very clean, and he will do what it takes to make sure he gets the best possible result for himself. He's a very smart guy, especially on track, and tends to make the most of his opportunities when he does get them.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing we've got going is that midfield battle just ahead of Combined in the constructors. You've got Emzo 66 points, Panda 64, Cello 61. They're all here on this tonight's grid, and I'm every week I look at that battle and I see how close it still is as Combined starts his flying lap on the mediums. And well, it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top at the end of that one, particularly with Trin. It's now sort of the battle for 5th place with Trin out of things, stepping down from the Alfa Romeo seat. But Emzo right now, he was tied with points anyway, 66 for him and Trin, so he'll inherit that place now. But we'll see who sits in 5th in the standings after this race. Combined YouTuber now coming out of turn 7. We'll see, I'm sure, a fair bit of overtaking through there. That long DRS straight really opens up that move into that corner. You can defend it into 8 now through 9. Then on this short straight down towards the Singapore sling. Getting through there nicely and just maybe not using all of the curb on the inside that he'd like, but still getting through there, like you said, cleanly. And now coming out of turn 13, DRS once more. This one not quite as fruitful as the one that goes down out of 5 through 6 into 7, but still, if you get a good enough exit out of 13, you can utilize it to get side by side into 14. We saw Alex Biddo use that to his advantage, where he fought all the way through here for P4, I want to say, in Thursday's Tier 1 race. And of course, the highlight of that can be found right here on the YouTube channel. Obviously, we're on YouTube for APAC NF2 on a Sunday rather than a Twitch channel. Combined, not particularly quickly, coming out of 21, but through 22, 23, nothing to complain about there. And third place he goes at 135.827.
As you mentioned on his lap, he didn't take great lines, especially through turns 11 and 12. Turn 7, as also a note, didn't lose a lot of that inside and outside curb that was available to him. Did not utilize the fact that this game allows you to leave 3 wheels off the track and 1 on the track at any time, and you will not invalidate your lap. So I don't think he'll be too happy with the 35.8, but I think he can improve on that. But let's see how he goes for the rest of the session.
Yeah, both Mercedes out on track right now. Ben the Bear on an amp lap, this time on the soft. So it looks like he is going to qualify on that softer combat tire. Maybe give himself a little bit of a gap at the front. Try and pull away, you know, from whoever qualifies in P2. And one man that you could have looking for that position is this man right here, his teammate. Captain of Gold, third in the standings right now. And, well, he's missed a few races. So if he hadn't have missed those, I've got to say it'd be a very interesting battle for P2 with Mikau, who's also been very consistent, just like Captain. He's had a few mishaps here and there, a few incidents that have really held him back from really pushing Ben for a lot of the points that he's now in a deficit of. But Mikau, he's been on strong form all throughout the season, a lot of podiums, equaling Ben the Bear's 12. It's just where he sat on those podiums that sort of reduced the amount of points he's had. Ben, he wasn't without, you know, incidents at the start of the season as well, both of whom have had their unlucky races. Captain of Gold now exiting out of 21 and then entering straight into the pit lane.
It's been standard procedures for everyone. Going for a lap on the softs, either calling it quits or invalidating early.
Let's see where Ben lands.
We'll see where Ben lands first.
He's not that much faster coming out of Sector 1. Obviously, not too much to worry about through there. There's, you know, the opening 3 corners, but everything else not too troublesome for the medium tyres. It'll be through here, really. The Singapore sling, where he'll gain back a fair bit of that time. And we'll see what the sector time is coming across that timing line at the end of this straight that crosses over from Sector 2 to Sector 3. And there it is, 3/10 through there, and this is looking to be a pretty strong time. I think, I can't quite remember what the lap record is. I think it might be a 32.7, if memory serves. I don't know if anyone in the chat has that information to hand, but Ben now coming through 18.19. He'll gain a lot of time through here as well, so he could be on if a 32.7 is. Oh, well, that's an invalidation.
It's a straightforward one, just turns too early into turn 20. I mean, it wouldn't put it past Ben to go for that lap record, so good chance he could qualify on the softs here. And it's not like it will be too much of a detriment to him. The hards do last a very long time. You get them, I believe, about 30 laps or something along the lines of that. They are very durable tyres. Although they don't drive great, they will last long, and if he wants to qualify on softs, he can do so.
Yeah, lap record is a 32.7 around here. Shenjie holding that one. And it's a 132.795. So it is beatable. Mikau right now, he's out on softs, and he was the one telling us, Seb, that, well, everyone's going to qualify on the mediums. And so far, he's pretty much been right. So I imagine he is going to either invalidate this lap or just call it straight back into the pit lane at the end of it. And given the time left in the session, I think it'll be the latter there. Unless, of course, I don't think there should be any desync in that time. He's at a strong sector 1, got purple on the track map as he comes through turn 8 now. He had a little bit of a mishap, I want to say, out of turn 5, just not looking quite stable and balanced in that car. That's why he's probably getting out now. He's had 13 minutes to just sit there and, you know, cool down. Not really coming out straight out of time trials or anything, so needs to get back in the groove of things, and that's exactly why you see these guys go out on the laps on the tyres that they're not necessarily going to use in qualifying. So far so good for him. But...
yeah, it looks clean, but it doesn't look confident from him necessarily. Just he's I think he did say before as well. On top of that, he hasn't been, or to me at least, he hasn't been too confident in his qualifyings recently. That he's just been bottling the laps, so that might be playing in the back of his mind as he pulls out of this lap.
Oh, there he comes. We're now in that final 5 minutes where, you know, track is at its best. Sand easy in the racing point. He's flying. We'll see where he lands himself as he comes out. He is looking like he is pushing a lot harder, looking a lot more confident. You mentioned it there, and well, maybe a little bit too confident coming through 19. He invalidates Cello as well. He just went a 134.5 to slot himself into P2. Not too bad from him. But tough luck for Sandeezy, who comes into the pit lane, interestingly enough. Surprised he didn't just go around again. Maybe no fuel.
Yeah, it says got red fuel light. It's just through turn 18, it just looked like he carried a little bit too much speed, and I think he just hit the panic button and turned in too early for 19, and that's why we saw that invalidation.
Well, we're on board now with Eccentric in the Ferrari. His teammate a 135.8. Well, we have had bad luck. Every time I say someone's name, they seem to make some sort of mistake, some sort of invalidation. Ben the Bear. Let's see if he can do anything. He is on the softs right now. His teammate behind him on an outlap. So I wonder whether we're going to see a little bit of a tow from the two Mercedes. Ben right now on the softs again. We'll see whether he actually sets this lap or whether he's going to invalidate it and just be out there to give Captain of Gold a tow. Go for those constructors' points. Because Ben right now sitting one and truly alone at the top of this timing tower. 133.1. 1.4 seconds ahead of Cello there in the McLaren. It's a McLaren 2-3 right now. So the Mercedes, it's in their best interests to try and bring Captain of Gold up, who's not set a lap time yet. Mikau as well. 2 and 3 in the championship right now. 10th and 11th in the timing tower. No time set. We've still got times to be set for Dorshui, Eccentric, Panda, as well as Mikau and Captain of Gold we just mentioned there. Ben just navigating his way through Sector 3, and, well, there's a big end plate loss. Is that more than an end plate, though? Well, there it is.
That's a lap record.
A lap record, and he lost an end plate. That is quite something from the Thai driver. And it's a complete annihilation of the lap record as well, so I think I'll be pretty happy with that, but, well, he's done it in style, Seb. He's done it in style, breaking that end plate off and still getting that lap time. It begs the question, what could it have been?
Yeah, well, it's a different type of style, but it just shows how fast he was. He really looked hooked up, especially through turn 13. That's that hairpin before that final DRS zone that got added in 2019, I believe. Yeah, just the way the car exited the corner just seemed really nice, and it looked like he had it under control. So yeah, it's a brilliant lap from him, albeit the final 3 corners.
One thing that surprises me is he didn't give Captain a tow. He pulled out of the way, coming out of turn 3. He didn't even sort of entertain the fact. Maybe he wasn't, you know, confident that he was able to get that car around turn 5 quickly enough to give Captain a good enough tow with that damage. But it strikes me that he could have given some sort of slipstream to his teammate here to try and aid Captain's lap here. Captain doesn't look like he needs it, though. Strong time so far. 102 coming out of the second sector. But just a little surprising for the Mercedes squad.
It's a little surprising. Yeah, it looked like he would get one. But like you said, if you can't take that corner confidently, then you're really going to struggle down that straight, and that might have affected Captain's run in that first or second DRS zone, I should say. Gonna round off those final 2 corners and slow himself nicely into P2.
Well, like I said, nicely done from him. 4/10 clean. And no, Mercedes 1-2. Can this man right here break that? He's breaking it in the championship. Can he break it here in qualifying? He's on for a similar lap time for Captain as he comes out of the second sector. No toe, according to Neon, who I assume is engineering, at least the tyre driver. Ben was out of fuel, so that would be why he didn't give Captain a toe through there. And well, that makes perfect sense. You don't want to be going in low fuel mode in front of your teammate on a fly. Mikau now coming out of 2021, now down into the final 2 corners. Can he beat either of those Mercedes? If not both, there he goes, 3rd place. 134.3. Cello behind him. He's finished. Emzo, he's not flying, so Sand Easy, he's on an invalidated lap. He will not be improving either. Can Matt find anything here in this session? He's a little bit down on his previous times, but for the Alfa Romeo, today could be a strong race for him. Only 6 points so far in the championship for him. He could look to increase that total, even double it with the few drivers that we have here. It is almost guaranteed points for everyone here in Singapore in this APAC Division race. Here he comes through into 16, 17, moving on towards 18 and 19. Where can he land himself? I think there's been a lot of invalidated runs. This could be a great opportunity to sort of pick up at least sort of P7. If he's stitched this lap together right, it doesn't look like the fastest lap ever made, but a 135.2, it does slot him into 7th place. He was just 1/10 off of 6th place for Panda, so I think Matt will be happy with that one. And I think that just about wraps up qualifying for us, Seb.
Yeah, it does. I believe Matt's always had some form of midfield pace, but I feel like he's been involved in a lot of accidents that's removed him from points contention, to at least some decent point scoring positions. So I think he'll be happy with that, like you said.
Yeah, there it is again. 7th place for Matt in that Alfa Romeo. And there is the standings. Ben the Bear on the soft compound tyre sets a 132.467, which, despite picking up damage coming out of turn 21, is the MRL lap record by a pretty huge 3/10 there, or just over. It's about 0.33 seconds there. Beaten. His teammate, Captain of Gold, lines up behind him on the medium compound, so there's desirable tyre strategy. Mikau, their championship rival, 3rd place in the AlphaTauri. The 2 McLarens, Cello and Emzo, the 2 Swedes, line up behind them in 4th and 5th. Then Panda in 6th. Matt in 7th. Sand Easy on the softs, only able to get 8, so he could struggle in this race. Combined YouTuber in 9th, sandwiched between 2 soft runners in Dorshui as well. And it was Eccentric there in 11th, not setting a lap time here. So we'll see how everything goes. But a pretty interesting qualifying session. Now, it's a dry race, but we are expecting rain towards the end. Before we get into it, a big shout out to everyone watching at home. The support is always welcome here on the YouTube for MRL APAC Division. And also a big shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. If you're looking for a sim racing rig, wheel stand, motion platform, that kind of thing, be sure to check them out in the link that is in the description down below. We greatly appreciate it, and they're doing brilliant things for the sim racing community. But with that being said, we are on the clock. We've got 20 seconds until the session starts. We'll be on that formation lap. We'll see everyone warm up those tyres. And for Ben the Bear and everyone else on the soft compound tyres, it's essential that you get a good launch, Seb, because the strategy really not in their favour today. Yeah,
not really. You want that medium to hard strategy, as those softs do die off very quickly. Like I think I said before, Ben, obviously confident enough and fast enough that he could pull off a soft to hard. And it's not like those softs don't have any pace in them at the start of their life. It's just, as I said, they die off quickly, and the mediums tend to hold pace better than those fresh hards. So we'll see how this pans out, but it should be a relatively entertaining race, although we have 11.
Yeah, the tyre strategy, always an interesting one. Just a quick note, my hunch was right. That was, in fact, Matt's best qualifying. His previous best was China, where he qualified P8 back in his second race. He started in Vietnam. This is his second time in the top, inside the top 10, and his best qualifying to date. So, like we said, I'm sure he'll be happy with that one. But let's have a quick look there. The tyre strategy's eccentric. Only one outside the top 10, so the only one with free tyre choice on the hard. So we'll see what his strategy is able to produce. It will presumably be a hard medium for him. He's in 11th place right now. So if there's an incident, well, it's pretty much guaranteed points as soon as someone retires. So we'll see how that goes. But it's Ben the Bear on pole. Soft compound tyres, then medium runners from second all the way down through 7th. Captain of Gold, Mikau, Cello, Emzo, Pan, and Matt. And Sandeezy in 8th on the soft. He'll be looking to try and carve his way up through that field before he has to come in on the pits. There is the predicted pit stop strategy for the soft starters. But realistically, it's going to be a one-stop for most of these drivers without any incidents or safety cars being included in that. Combined YouTuber starts 9th on the mediums. And Dorshui starts 10th on the softs and eccentric there. Like we said, and 11th on the hards.
I'm actually very happy with what Eccentric's done here. I believe he might have had a stroke of genius. I did say this race goes for more than 50 minutes, the longest out of all the races we do on this Formula 1 calendar, and that rain comes at around plus 45 minutes. So what he could have done here is he's just made this, if we do have rain, and it means these drivers have to take an extra pit stop than they normally would, he could be doing a 1-stop and the rest of the field could be doing a 2-stop.
Well, if he manages to avoid that extra pit stop, that could be huge for him. But it just depends on the pace that he's got on those hards at that stage of the race. So we'll just see how it runs in. But that sort of action, that sort of drama is what we live for, and it's very exciting as Ben the Bear, Captain of Gold, they found their way to the grid a lot faster than everyone else. Where is Mikau? I don't know if Mikau's had a problem here, but he is quite far back.
Yeah, I believe he spun out at 21. That's the third last corner.
Well, that's a confidence knock.
Second last. Yeah. It's just a bit of a weird way. I think it looked like he was weaving a bit, and then the camera cut to Ben, sorry, Captain of Gold. And then he just spun around, but now the start of the race.
Well, there we go. You can see there Sandeezy just picking up his grid slot on those soft compound tyres, but it is 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights here in Singapore, and it's lights out, and away we go then. Ben the Bear on the softs. You expect him to get a good start, and he does, but Mikau, what a start the AlphaTauris, and he's straight past the other Mercedes, and Cello runs it. I think it was Emzo might have run straight into there. Captain of Gold there, knocking both McLarens down a bit. Captain manages to retain P3 here, but there's been a lot of position shuffling, and there's been a bit of an incident between Emzo and Sandeezy. Emzo is out. He's just been clipped by the Racing Point, and then he ran into what I believe was Matt there. Matt is sporting an end plate missing already on that Alfa Romeo. And that is quite the unfortunate race start for a couple of these drivers. Only a yellow flag, no safety car or VSC to speak of right now. Which is interesting. Captain of Gold defending from Panda. Panda going around the outside of the Mercedes. And I think he's got that move done and dusted. I don't know if Captain's got any damage. He's not looking like he's sporting any. And now down through the Singapore sling. Look for a way back past. But this is costing them big time. There's another yellow flag. Sandeezy's had another issue. And it's the other McLaren. Cello. Where is he?
He's dropped. He's either spun or dropped it. That's at turn 11 and 12. What a nice move by Panda, and what an unfortunate event for Emzo. And it's also for Matt as well, who's got that broken front wing. He's guaranteed points now, considering Emzo's out of the race, but considering he could be up there and scoring 6 points rather than just 1 at the moment.
Look at Mikau on Ben. He is really stuck to him like glue, and he is not going to leave that Mercedes gearbox alone as he shakes out of 21. You said he had a problem there on the formation lap, but Ben had a problem there through qualifying, so it's just a case of who has the mistake first, I think. Gaps, who is that? Matt has a problem. He's into the pit lane, but there's a Ferrari there as well. Did they come together there? I'm not quite sure. Combined YouTuber, he's got a lot of damage as well.
I believe he might have come into contact with Cello. That's why we saw him spin around. That could be the reason. I did see Wing fly off between turn 11 on that one, but I didn't get a good look at who it was, and I believe it would be combined, judging from the fact that he's pitting.
Yeah, Ben Mikau now still tight together. This grid already spacing itself out very early on in this race. And like you said, it is a long campaign. So for everyone on those early pit stops, it's not early. You can see there the positions change. Ben holds on to P1. Panda, he's up 3. Eccentric's up 6. Captain of Gold down 2. Cello down 4. So a lot of big moves here. Let's go back to the tyres so we can see what everyone has gone on to. It's the hards for Matt and Combined. We'll see how that pans out for them. And I don't know if they'll be able to take it to the end. I might be hard pressed to, but might be able to. And well, with a safety car, they've got that pit stop out of the way. They might be able to benefit from that. But we'll have to wait and see. The battle for the first and the top 4 is still underway. Mikau dancing all over the rear of Ben, and it's not going to be too long until we see those tyres hit that switch over point, and Mikau start to really have the legs on Ben here. Panda and Captain fighting behind as well, and they seem to be catching quite quickly here. So Ben on these softs, he got himself a lap record, but I don't know whether he'll be particularly happy with how it's going in the race.
I don't. It feels like he's playing games. Look at his ERS. He had 100% ERS, which means he is not using any of this at the moment. He's just saving it all up. So he's just. I don't know what he's doing.
Unless of course he's holding Mikau and Panda for captain here, slowing everyone down.
Potentially. I wouldn't put it past him to do it. That's some excellent teamwork if you think about it.
Early on in the race as well, you wouldn't expect to see it either. So for the guys behind him, they won't be too thrilled about it. But if there's anyone that can hold up a train, it's Ben the Bear. He can really control this race in the front right now. He's got that ERS like you're saying. And look behind, the ERS dropping down to the 70s, the 60s for everyone else. So Ben is just sitting here always in the high 80s, 90s. And we'll see how the Thai driver goes for the next few portions of this race. But I think for now, he's just backed everyone up to get Panda and Captain back on the DRS and Mikau. Because not only does that help Captain a gold and, you know, his battle for the cars ahead, but it also gives Ben a bit of a chance because it means that Mikau's now going to have to defend when he comes into the pit stop. So he's not leaving Mikau unchecked at the front 2 seconds ahead. He's brought Mikau back into that fight, down into second or first place when Ben comes in. So it's giving Mikau some company, and I don't think Mikau will really appreciate that. But well, it's how it's gone right now, and it's pretty tricky to overtake around here. Mikau really needs to get a move done into turn 7 if he can pull it off. DRS, of course, is in full swing. He's using a little bit of ERS there out of the last corner just to try and bring himself as close to the rear of that Mercedes as he can so that he is poised and in position for the move down out of turn 5 through turn 6 into 7. Cello, Dorshui's crashed into the pit wall.
Oh. Gone in way too hot. He's just locked it up, and then that sent the car straight into the wall. Just trying to avoid that speeding time penalty, about 5 seconds, and yeah, it's a bit of a brain error there.
Well, Mikau not able to get through on Ben the Bear. We're on lap 4. Dorshui losing yet another position in that pit lane as I think he'll drop to the rear of this grid. And already things very, very spaced out here. Combined YouTuber, he's pretty close to the rear of Matt. We'll see whether he can get a move done at any point in this race. And I think that battle between the two Italian teams could be on for quite some time, given how alone they are around them. We'll see. Can the Ferrari find a way past the sister car, the Alfa Romeo of Matt? He had his best qualifying just moments ago. Now defending down into turn 7, blocking the exit for Combined YouTuber. No way through for the Ferrari this time around, but Matt is under a lot of pressure to hold off Combined for P8, but he's got a lot more ERS. Combined has really burnt off that battery. Now, Ben, I think, maybe starting to push a little bit, getting ready to come into a pit stop because Mikau, he's extended about a 1 second gap to Panda behind. And there goes Ben, a 139 flat, and you can see he's burnt off a little bit of that battery as well. So starting to maybe think about the pit stop for himself. He's done as much as he can for his teammate behind, but Mikau seems to have clocked onto the games already and is, you know, playing along quite nicely.
Yeah, just trying to keep within that DRS. Like you said, Panda's lost the DRS to the top 2, and now Captain Gold's on his rear, but it doesn't look like he's making any waves in terms of making an overtake. But Ben the Bear, I think what he was doing earlier on was just trying to save the tyres while Mikhail was not a threat due to that DRS being inactive or disabled in those first 2 laps of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's worked out pretty well for him. He's almost got that 1 second window now as well. It won't be too long until we see Ben into the pit lane with that tyre saving measures that he employed in those first few laps. It might be a little later than you necessarily expect, but it won't be long. And when he does come in, that will open up Mikhail to just sort of run away from Panda and Captain here, who are dropping back quite substantially to the Australian ahead of them.
Yeah, now Mikhail's out of that DRS range. Well, he's back in it just slightly, but he's flirting with danger right now. She wants to hold on to Ben the Bear if he wants any chance of stealing a victory from the also classy Ben.
Well, he's going to come through the detection point right now, and he's not got it, I don't think. He doesn't. He does not have DRS on Ben the Bear. The Thai driver has broken DRS to Mikhail behind, and that is good news for him, bad news for Mikhail, because Mikhail wants to stay as close to Ben as he can whilst he's got this opportunity in the early stage of this race. We'll see what tyre strategy Ben goes for. We'll see whether he goes for the soft, medium, medium. That'll be quite an interesting one, and it might work as well if we get that rain earlier rather than later in this race. Captain of Gold now. Can he find a run on Panda? He's got DRS. Panda, no DRS ahead. But he's not finding it past the Williams, and things just... no real overtake since that first lap. We're not seeing it, Seb.
Yeah, it's a tough race to... sorry, tough track to race at. Not a lot of great overtaking spots. You could maybe say turn 14, turn 7's the main one, but you really have to set up your overtakes here and think in advance. You gotta set them up for a turn 7, then into 8 move. Or maybe even get them earlier than that, but it's very, very hard to overtake. I think even you said you could try to set up from 14 down to 16, but not a lot of long straights here. And just a lot of corners means cars bunch up, and then you have those traction zones, and they tend to be relatively easy traction zones as well. So
yeah, Mikhail has now caught Ben quite substantially over the course of the last time. I think we're starting to see those softs die off. But yeah, the moves around here, even with the tyre disadvantage that Ben's got, well, tyre disadvantage no more. He comes into the pit lane. Now, where does this drop him to? And what tyres does he go on for? It's a medium set by the looks of it. The Mercedes crew there running out with the yellow walled compound. And as is Panda. Panda's followed Ben in here. What is he going for? Is that a set of softs?
Like set of softs, yeah, that's what that looks like. Very interesting call.
I don't think this is a strategy anyone has ever witnessed in a Singapore Grand Prix. Mediums starting is usually a very powerful strategy for the hard one stop. On lap 7 here, Panda's called it into the pits over the mediums and onto the softs. So we'll see what he's doing. But that is a bizarre strategy, and, well, at least Captain of Gold without DRS. But that is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I'm confused by that. I wonder if he's just made a blunder and not selected the right tyres in the pit menu. But you'd think that the game would put him onto hards, so he probably had done it himself then. I'm
Even
very
then,
confused by that, just as you are.
I'm just wondering why he came into the pits at all. He was ahead of Captain.
Well, I can understand if he tried to mimic what Ben was doing by potentially going onto hards, but I don't know. Very weird.
Okay, we got a little bit of an engineer coming across in chat in the form of Richard there, coming across saying that Panda did not want the softs. So makes a little bit more sense. So he was going to go for try and go for a huge undercut here on what are now the two leaders. But obviously, with that mishap in the pit lane for Williams, it's not going to be. We'll see whether he can push for at least maybe fastest lap. It seems a little bit difficult given that Ben really pushed for it. We'll see what the Williams can produce over the course of the next. I expect, assuming they're fresh to the softs, he probably hasn't used all of his sets in qualifying. It could be, you know, a good 10 laps maybe that he gets out of those if he's a little bit careful on them in the opening few stages.
Yeah, it's unfortunate if he hasn't intended to select them, because that's completely ruined what would be an excellent podium. Had a great start, did a great move on Captain of Gold around the outside of turn 9, and yeah, it's just kind of all been undone.
Well, there's still a long way to go in this race. We are only on lap 8 out of 31, so plenty of time for other people to make mistakes. Plenty of time to recover as well. Ben the Bear right now. He's used a lot of his ERS to push, and he's looking for Cello down into turn 14. Here he goes up the inside. Cello not making that particularly difficult for the tight driver, but he might try and look for a way back past. But Ben's tyres and Ben himself, no way that he's going to let that one happen. But a little bit of a valiant effort from Cello to look for the move back on the championship leader, but not to be for the McLaren today, who's already out of DRS. You can see the pace Ben has got on those mediums. The question is it enough? He is 15 seconds down on Eccentric right now. He's about 5 seconds off Mick out in lead of things. Dor Shui, he's down in 10th place, picks up the first penalty there, goes fastest up of the race. Ben the Bear 136.7. And he'll be happy with that one.
Ben's, yeah, within 3 laps, Ben is already easily in front of Mikel provisionally. Once Mikel pits, he will be roughly 7 seconds behind Ben the Bear. But he's obviously got to make more time. He needs to make a pit stop's worth of time in the next 20 odd laps just to try and get that position back, get that P1 back. But obviously there is rain brewing at the end of the race, so that could come into factor.
Yeah, it could be interesting to see how that plays into things, because if Ben is on a better set of tyres at the end of things and it's only a bit of light rain, that could really help him if, you know, there's not a lot of grip on track as a result of a little bit of drizzle. But if it's not quite wet enough for the inters, for that pit stop, maybe it's too late in the race, maybe there's only about 3 laps left, that could benefit Ben as well. So whilst this does look like a bit of a, you know, championship leader giving himself a bit of a challenge here, and we know Ben likes to do that, at the same time, can also work out quite nicely for him if the car's full right for the Mercedes driver. So it might not be a completely, you know, just, I don't know how to describe that kind of strategy. I'm trying to think of a word for it, but it might work out for him. It might be a little bit of a hidden genius in there.
Well, it looks like Cello's pitting. He has. Panel's just about to overtake him as he pulls in into the pit lane. And interesting developments is that Eccentric is holding pace very well to Captain of Gold. Is maintained around a 2.2 to 2.3 second gap to Captain of Gold. So those hards are working for him, and if he can make that strategy work of a potential hard to wet tyre at the end of the race work, then he's on for a very good podium potentially.
Well, combined YouTuber, he finds his way to a 3-second time penalty, joining Dor Shui at the back there with the black and white flag next to their name. Matt just gets ahead of Cello, and Cello's come out in between Matt and Combined here, and Combined was on the rear of Matt for a bit, but now he's dropped off. He's in DRS range now of the McLaren though, and we'll see now whether he can utilize anything. He's still low on battery though. He seems to have been struggling today. We saw it in qualifying. He didn't put in the best lap. He didn't seem to be doing, you know, the best, you know, taking the racing line everywhere, not quite utilizing all of the curbs, but he's still here in 9th, points again on the table for pretty much everyone in this race now, provided that they finish, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, Eccentric, Captain of Gold, is Captain of Gold into the pit lane. So we'll see what he can do here, as there he goes into the Mercedes pit box. Hard for him. We'll see whether he can undercut potentially Mick out. Eccentric, obviously, going to the end. He started this race in 11th. He now sits P2, Seb. So you were saying he might have had a circuit genius at the start of this. Right now, it looks like that could be exactly what is happening for him.
Yeah, and it's a good idea from Captain Gold to pit. Looked like eccentric he gained about 5/10 on him in the space of one lap, either because of a mistake or eccentric just being on top of his tires more than Captain Gold himself, who, although they have the same life, they start on the same life of tires. Looks like eccentric made his tires work better than Captain Gold himself. So interesting developments happening, and he's even gaining on Mikau as well. So it looks like these mediums have lost all their pace compared to these hards.
Well, we'll see what he can do because he's got Ben hunting as well. Ben is really pushing right now. We saw him with more ERS than pretty much anyone else. He's now on 40%, which is less than Mikau. So, Tojo pushing. Eccentric picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could play poorly for him with his strategy, especially picking one up this early. There is plenty of time for him to pick up another. Ben has really started to crush that gap down. And like you said, well, there goes Mikau into the pit lane. This is big for him. Let's see. Captain of Gold, came in the lap prior. I don't think it will be enough to get an overtake done the undercut here. But we'll see whether it's enough for him to get a little bit closer to the Australian when he comes up. Pan is ahead of them as well. He's on the soft tyres. He doesn't want to be on the soft tyres, but he is. And he slots himself back into P3, so he's getting a little bit of a gap going. There goes Captain of Gold. He's really pushing as he comes down into turn 1. He's not quite within Mikau, and I don't think it's worked out at all for him. I think he was a bit closer than that before the pit stop.
It tends to be with Singapore that if you undercut onto a set of harder tyres, you will lose time as they struggle to heat up. But whereas if you undercut onto softer tyres, then you'll easily get in front of any opposing drivers that are within a certain close range on the track.
Well, there it is. Captain of Gold now. He's just sort of sitting in 3 seconds. He's actually losing a bit of time to Mikau ahead. So let's see how that plays. Mikau seems to be catching Panda a bit. So Panda's tires may be already starting to fall off, or just a credit to Mikau's pace right now. And it could be on for what looks like a P2 now, depending on where Eccentric lands in all this. Eccentric in the Ferrari right now. 3-second time penalty. That is the biggest pain that he has got in his race right now. Not to mention Ben the Bear, who's going to steal that lead from him in a couple of laps or so. And I say a couple of laps because usually when I expect Ben the Bear to overtake in a few laps or so, he about halves the expectation. So we'll see what he can do. 5-lap old mediums for him. With the exception of Panda, they should be the fastest tyres on this grid. And we'll see where he lands himself.
Currently we have the closest battle on track being that fight for P7, but it looks like Chelly's pulling away from Matt and combined YouTuber on 8-lap fresher hards, obviously just pitting recently and getting by the Alfa Romeo driver of Matt. Meanwhile up ahead, Ben is slowly reeling in Eccentric. That gap's now down to 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, really catching in this Mercedes. We saw his pole time was absolutely huge. See whether, well, we've already seen the pace he's got. We've seen it all throughout this season, not only in this race. So you can now see that Ferrari well and truly in the horizon. On board with Ben the Bear, and it's only a matter of time until he makes the move, gets past for P1. But he does have to extend a bit of a gap behind for the pit stop. He's got a pretty huge gap. It's 15 seconds now. Not quite enough for a pit stop, but it's not far off.
It's about 8 seconds off of gaining that pit stop on Mikau. Maybe 7 even, but he's absolutely lightning. I just saw in chat then that there's a potential that he could do a 3-stop. I mean, I wouldn't put him past him too, but I just don't see that being a possibility. However, don't want to put that past him. He's a classy driver and he's got a lot of pace to him, so he can do whatever he wants.
Well, I think within reason, it all depends on this rain at the end of this race. That is the dynamic that it might not affect anything at all, but the fact that it's there not only plays on our mind and thinking as Panda, well, there he goes, he gets off of those softs onto a set of mediums. And we'll see how that goes. Ben taking a lot of curbing as he comes through the Singapore sling, and he is right on the rear now of Eccentric. Can he get the move down into turn 14? It's a tough one. We saw him pull it off on Cello earlier in the race. I think he's a bit too far back here to get it on Eccentric, and that's a bit of a problem for him because now he is going to lose time through the final sector to the Ferrari ahead. This is, of course, the battle for P1, at least on track. Maybe not in terms of finishing order, but Eccentric, he's on for a good strategy here. He's not, you know, miles off the pace on those hards right now. They're 13 laps old. Everyone else on fresh hards, they'll have a lot more pace than him in a bit as Ben. Well, that's a snap out of turn 20 that he did not need. Look at the time he's lost there to the Ferrari. And that just goes to show that Eccentric is really having a good race right now. Obviously, he's only that far ahead of Ben now because of that mistake that the Thai drivers just had. But to be able to, you know, hold up Ben the Bear, championship leader, 12 race wins. It's absolutely astonishing the Thai difference we're seeing here. And he is on for an excellent strategic call here, especially if the rain plays into his hands. But here we go. I think it's all done and dusted now. The battle for P1 is over. The Mercedes sweeps around the outside of turn 7. And there is nothing that Eccentric has to say about it. I don't think he particularly wanted anything to do with that. He just wanted that to be clean and tidy, and it was. He doesn't lose any time as a result. And he's not going to really let that impact his race because he knows he's not directly fighting Ben, at least right now, on track.
Yeah, you're right. I thought Ben the Bear was too far back to make a move, but obviously when you don't fight one, it doesn't really matter. You need to be around 5/10 behind at the exit of turn 5 to have a chance at maybe setting up a move, not in turn 7, but in turn 8 after the DRS zone. But yeah, obviously Eccentric, smart move, doesn't need to fight it, just lets him by, doesn't lose too much time.
Well, now that that's done and dusted, Panda on the fresh mediums. Can he get past Sand Easy? Down into the Singapore sling, and well, the side-by-side through here is a little bit unorthodox, but the tyre advantage is there for the Williams. Doesn't find a way through here, but now he is tight to the rear. Can he get the exit he needs out of turn 13? Rain apparently in 10 minutes, and well, as a result of that battle at Panda, they're not able to hang on to Sand Easy into 14. But rain is apparently forecast for 10 minutes, so can Ben hold his tyres on for that long? The likes of Sand Easy, he should be able to. And I think everyone, Ben and Dorshui, those are the two drivers that might struggle to get to that window, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Banda just on the rear of Sand Easy. We'll see whether he goes to the move into turn 1. I wouldn't put it past him. He seems to be hungry for that move into the Singapore sling. Sand Easy looks like he faked the pit lane there a little bit. Maybe just a little bit of a shake, but here we go. The Williams. Whoa, that's a big weave from Sand Easy down the start-finish straight. Now as they come through the opening 3 corners, we'll see. Look at the Williams traction through there. Sand Easy just continuing to hold on to the left-hand side there to not allow any way through for Panda. And it doesn't really need to be battling this as hard as he is. Switches to the right-hand side of the track now, drifting back out to the left-hand side. Sand Easy switches to the left. Here they go down into turn 7. Sand Easy, well, he's still ahead right now. He is really giving this Williams a run for his money. 12 lap old hards, 1 lap old mediums. You'd have expected this to be a little bit more, you know, cut and dry.
And he's going for a move here. Oh.
Sand Easy late on the brakes. He's faked him out. Can he get him through here again through the Singapore sling? Sand Easy really pushing to defend P5 here. He is costing Panda huge amounts of time. If the pit stop mistake wasn't enough for the Williams driver, he's now got a racing point really holding him up. But this surely is the move. surely. Eccentric, Ben, both into the mid lane. They're still battling down into turn 14. We're seeing the switchback. We saw it in tier 1. We're now seeing it here in the APAC division. But Sandeezy's got more pace. He's going for it around the outside as they come down into 16 through 17. And Sandeezy, he put up way more of a fight than he had to there, and he loses the position to boot. He really was never going to hold on to that. Ben, he comes out in P3 ahead of the Ferrari of Eccentric, who comes out ahead of Panda. So for Eccentric right now, this is great news. He's on the mediums, 2.8 seconds behind Ben the Bear. He may not have the 1 lap pace, but he's on the same tyre strategy now. Panda, he's 20 seconds behind. Well, it's more like 17 now. You can see the timing tire just more calculating that one. But for Eccentric right now, this could be a podium for him. This strategy has worked out beautifully for the Ferrari driver, who didn't get a time set in qualifying. He started 11th. He's now 4th. He does have 3 seconds. That could be the one real hiccup in his race. But for Eccentric right now, this is working out beautifully for him.
Yeah, exactly. But what if the rain comes? There could be questions asked about whether this is the right call. I personally would have stayed out and just try to see the rain out, because Panda is so far back that it doesn't matter if he goes those extra laps on the hards and tries to make them last to a potential rain pit stop.
At the same time, though, now his tyre strategy covers off everyone behind him. Realistically, his tyre strategy now guarantees 4th place, if, you know, without any mistakes, safety cars, anything like that. So it's maybe sticking the hards out to the end would have been a bit riskier, could have been more successful, but this is a much safer option. An alternative tyre strategy, the hard medium, if we knew it was going to be dry, that's what he'd gone for anyway. So I think the safer bet for him. Sandeezy picks up a 3-second time penalty. You can see the gap forming between him and Panda right here. The Racing Point really did not have to battle that hard. He lost himself and Panda a lot of time as he slides out of 90. And Cello now, not too far behind. We'll see whether he can catch here. The Racing Point seems to be struggling. And if he's struggling on tyres now, 14 lap old hards, battling like he did with Panda is only going to worsen that tyre. So I really don't understand why he did that, but we'll see. I think it's going to cost him here in terms of points at the end of this race.
I think it certainly will. He just hurt his battle with Cello. I feel like it was somewhat inevitable that Cello would catch up to him and see if he passes him or not, but how he drives compared to Matt and combined will be interesting, considering they both had to pit earlier on in the race and now they're within striking distance of potentially stealing more points from him.
Well, speaking of point scoring positions, well, the Mercedes switching drivers, team orders definitely came into play there. Ben the Bear getting past his teammate, no questions asked. That was just as easy as you like. Efficiency coming out of the Mercedes crew. And the number 21 takes 2nd place away from his teammate. Captain of Gold drops to P3 in the hopes that Ben can go and chase down Mikhail. Battle with him. Ben, a 136.4, fastest lap of the race. That's not the first time we've seen that graphic ping up on our screens. It might just be the last, though, depending on how quickly he catches up to Mikhail and whether he can, start using DRS. Look at the time he's gained on Captain. They've got 1.6 seconds already, the gap between teammates. So for Mikhail, this is not good news. Ben is really hunting him down, and that 2-stop strategy could be working out beautifully. It shouldn't be too long, though, until we've seen that rain. It is forecast. We don't know when it's coming, but when it does, it should make things quite interesting, and especially considering we're going to be at that time step where everyone's tires are starting to feel a bit bad anyway. So you might have a few people come in thinking, oh, I'm not getting enough grip here. I think it's time for intermediates. In reality, it's just tires dying off.
Yeah, it could very well be that. You can sometimes see that the end of race rain can throw a lot of question marks in the air. It can really throw up strategy. Also throw around a timing tower in a position order. So Combine's pitted, he's on to mediums. He wasn't making any inroads on Matt, so we'll see how this works out for him. I don't think it'll work out any different to what he was doing on the hards, but something different's always worth it when nothing else is working for you.
Well, like I say, it's worth a go. And if for Matt, you know, combined will close the gap. He won't close the gap to the point where he can overtake or even, you know, gain any positions in post-race penalties realistically. But if Matt does decide, you know, these hards, they won't make it to the end, you know, they're not going to be useful enough in the rain, whatever it may be, combined getting onto the mediums earlier might be a good option for him, because if Matt does decide at any point in this race to get onto another set of compound, combined YouTuber now will be closing that gap, and he'll be ready and waiting and should be a lot closer, if not ahead, after that pit stop. So not a bad call from him. Eccentric right now. He's joined the rear of Captain of Gold. We saw Ben make a very easy move on his teammate. For Eccentric, it shouldn't be anywhere as easy, given that he is in a rival team. Ferrari right now, only 7th in the standings, but both drivers have scored a good few points this season. Only Eccentric has sat on the podium. Right now, hunting Captain of Gold down. Captain, of course, 3rd place in the championship. First, of course, in the constructors for Mercedes, so not really a threat for him. The Ferrari behind in either of them, but he'll still be looking at it. Here he goes. What a run. What a run he has got here. Not making it through, though. A little bit of contact. He lost the front end plate there. There was definitely a hit with the wall. Doesn't look like he's got any damage, but Captain giving him a bit of a run for his money here. This is, though, 4th track position. This is an important battle for Captain to have. But the problem is here, he doesn't want to lose too much time to Mikau. And now he'll be on the radio to Ben, telling him, you know, I've got a Ferrari here, causing me huge problems. I need you to cause huge problems for Mikau as well to try and save my race. But yeah, Eccentric not been having the greatest few races. He hasn't been here for a couple. I don't think his last race out, Hungary, 14th place. But of course, ever since he signed up full time for Ferrari, things have gone downhill for him. He came for the Pirates. He had a great few runner races in the first 3. 6th in Australia, Bahrain, 5th, China. That's his podium. Here he goes up the inside into turn 7 on Captain of Gold. Surely this is the move. Captain forced wide. Eccentric using a bit of EOS to get through, and I don't think Captain will be happy with that, but it is the move done for Eccentric. Eccentric, though, does have that penalty. We were saying it earlier.
Yeah, it might have been a bit of an eye for an eye there. Had that bump in turn 14, then he just gives it back at turn 7. Shows he wasn't too happy about that, but I think at the end of the day, Captain Gold can't be too upset with the move. I don't think he would have held him off for much longer. And also the fact that Eccentric had inside line and was in front into the corner. I don't think Captain Gold can do too much complaining about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben the Bear now on the rear. Mikau, there's a yellow flag. It's Williams. I'm assuming that's Dorsey just letting them through. There we go. It's very close now between the leaders, not only on track, but also the championship standings as well. Ben the Bear now looking to take away the win from Mikau here. Rain still not present, on with it being nighttime as well here in Singapore. Pretty hard to determine whether there's clouds in the sky, so we're not quite sure when it's coming. It was forecast 10 minutes ago, but we haven't seen a single drop yet. Let's have a look now, see what can happen. Can Ben get the move down into turn 7? Mikau doesn't look like he's going to make it too difficult for the Mercedes driver. He doesn't. And into first place goes Ben the Bear, the Thai driver, taking it away from his Australian rival for P1. 4 lap-old mediums versus 9 lap-old hards. You got to say, Ben's strategy here, bit of an oddball, bit of left field, but it's working out beautifully for him right now in that Mercedes. Cello, Sandisi. That gap now below a second, just about. And the McLaren is in it where it matters. DRS now enabled for him. We'll see what he can do through turn 6 into 7. I don't think he'll get the move this lap, but in the next few, I wouldn't put it past him.
It's such a poor turn 5. He lost about a 10th of Sandisi. So you hope that isn't a reoccurring theme. Otherwise, he's going to have a bit of trouble overtaking him later down the track when he does inevitably catch up with this DRS.
Well, he's just going to sit there for now. He's got the fresh tyres and you expect him to pass, but you know, it's a difficult circuit to do it around, and we've seen Sandisi already put up quite the fight. We'll see whether it's a bit easier for Cello here than it was for Panda a few laps ago.
A bit deep into 14. That time was already running into the back of Sandisi, but looks like he had it under control. Anything he loses right there is time.
Just keeping it, you know, as clean is an important part of this late stage of the race. Cello, no penalties on the board for him, and that could be huge for him. At the end of this one, Sandisi's got a penalty, but so does Panda. Let's have a quick look and have a quick check on the penalty situation. You can see there, only one person has 3 seconds. Eccentric's got 6. Panda has a 5-second penalty. Hasn't served it in the pit lane, so if it was wrongly given to him, then he could get it removed. But I imagine it's probably for speeding in the pit lane. I'm not quite sure, though. Sandisi, 6 seconds for him, so that really is a great news for Cello. But Cello, he could see himself at P5 if he can get within 5 seconds of that Williams. Could be great news for him. Captain of Gold needs to stay within 6 of Eccentric for that podium. Then, of course, Matt, 3 seconds for him. Combined 6 seconds. And Dorshui, 12 seconds. Rain apparently on the horizon, so things could get spicy quickly here in Singapore. If you're just tuning in, welcome, of course. This is the Misfits Racing League APAC Division. We always round out the week here on YouTube for the APAC Division. All of the other tiered divisions can be found on the Twitch channel. And, of course, F2 will be here tonight on the YouTube as well, along with all of our race replays, highlights, track guides, things like that, meme videos as well. A new one of those came out just earlier this week, I think, if not last week. Time flies, though, so it could be a little bit longer than I anticipate. But yeah, and a big shout out as well to our partners, Next Level Racing. If you're looking for a racing rig, wheel stand, that kind of thing, check them out in the link in the description down below. We'd really appreciate it, and they're doing great things for the sim racing community. As we watch Cello once more not getting through on Sandisi this lap. Obviously not going to get it through sector 3. It's a very, very difficult place to get it done. We've seen it about twice, I think, this week. With, I'd say twice, because I imagine someone else did it, but the biggest one that sticks in my mind is Alex Biddo in Tier 1 in the last lap. What a move that was.
Yet another mistake from Cello. He's not doing himself any favours if he wants to try and overtake Sandisi, although Sandisi obviously has those penalties. It means Cello will inevitably go up above him in the race standings due to those penalties, but you really want to get the move done on track rather than through a time penalty, and he's not doing himself any justice if he does want to get that move done.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's just dancing on that 1 second window. He's just out of it, just in it, just out of it, and he's just, like I say, not doing any favors. So if he keeps, you know, making these little mistakes, it makes it a bit more difficult. You know, P6, it should be on the cards for him. It doesn't seem that, unless he picks up a couple of penalties himself, it seems that he will beat Sandisi in terms of penalties. But for Panda, obviously there's a bit of a tire advantage there for the Williams, so it seems unlikely that Cello will be able to get it. But there is a possibility if Panda picked up another 3 seconds, or his first 3 seconds, sorry, he'd have 8 seconds of penalties. And if Cello is ahead of Sandisi...
We have rain. I believe we have rain.
We do. It is raining. 6 laps to go. Does that do anything?
This rain could either take 2... It could take 2 laps to make it intermediates, or it could take 4 laps. We'll see, though. This could get very interesting. It looks like it's got heavy in the past 20 seconds that we've been talking about it.
Well, for the likes of, you know, Ben, I imagine Mikkel as well, it shouldn't be too bad on their tyres, but if you look at, you know, Sandisi, 21 lap old hards, Matt, 22 lap old hards, I can't imagine it will feel good on those tyres if it does get slippery out there. So is it late enough to see the green walled compounds make a little bit of an appearance? It's been so long. We haven't seen it really at all this week take a grasp on any race here. I think we saw it at the start of the Tier 3 race, and even then it was a dry start for everyone. The rain really didn't cause any problems, and around Singapore you expect it to cause problems, but we just haven't had it this week. Now, in the last 6 laps, of APAC. We are seeing it for the first time. Maybe F2 will be the first full wet we see. But right now, weather is here. And, well, given that we haven't seen it all week, we're not quite sure how long it's going to take. But it's a long lap. So that means it could take less laps than somewhere like Austria. Well, even there, it only takes a couple of laps to really, you know, make it intermediate conditions. So if this is heavy enough, we could see it, Seb. We really could.
It looks like Sandesi is now officially struggling on those hard tyres. Lost 4/10 to Cello in this one lap, but also had a massive moment out of turn 9. Nearly sent him into that wall on the left-hand side on the exit. So I don't think that was rain induced, but certainly those tyres are gone, as you've been saying they potentially would have.
Right, well, Cello definitely within striking distance now of the racing point, and well, fingers crossed they can do something, give us a little bit of action. But there's another mistake from Cello, just having to correct himself coming out of turn 3. And both drivers right now not having the times of their lives out there in the streets of Singapore. Pushing for 6th place is the McLaren. He sits 8th right now in the standings, but he could finish, you know, 5th by the end of this if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, well, he needs to get this move done earlier than later. Considering if this rain gets heavier, then he's not going to have DRS to assist him in overtaking Sandesi. And considering Sandesi's doing a good job of holding him off and maintaining at least a decent gap to him before DRS zones, then you'd think Sandesi would have enough pace on the inters to hold off Cello as well.
Well, there's not many laps to go. Cello gets very close. Sandesi's gone. Sandesi is around. I don't think there was contact. I think he was too far away. Yeah, there's definitely no contact there. But, well, the racing point spins. His tyres are well and truly done. He's got no damage. He's got away with that one, but...
Matt just had some wheel spin out of... Matt had some wheel spin out of turn 13. I wonder if that rain's just got that bit heavier now. Well, that might have been why Sandesi could have spun, but...
There's still no spray coming off the cars, so I don't think it's wet enough yet.
This one as well.
Maybe it is getting... It doesn't look that wet out there. But this is big news for Cello, because Cello... 3 points behind the Williams in the standings. Emzo's out. He's not scoring any points. He's in 6th. Trin's no longer here. He's stepped down from his position. So this right now could be P5 from P8 to P5 in the standings for Cello. Sandesi into the pit lane. Is it for intermediate tyres?
It's for mediums.
Well, like I said, there's no spray, so that might be, you know, the best call. But, well, there's some intermediates. Combined YouTuber, so we'll see what he does. And oh my goodness, that's a huge crash. You couldn't really see it because of the wall, but Cello has done a lovely pirouette, and just as he came past Panda with a spin, Panda comes back past. Things getting treacherous out there, Seb. Things are getting a little bit difficult for these drivers, it would seem, on these old tyres. Who's that? Captain of Gold.
Captain of Gold. Yeah, that's when you know it's really and truly treacherous conditions, especially the way that Cello just spun. He's in dry conditions you would never spin. And yeah, they're all in. And is Ben the Bear continuing? He is. Ben the Bear's continuing.
DRS is gone. DRS is gone.
Disabled. Yeah.
This is bad news for Ben. I think he should be able to limp round to the pit lane. He just needs to avoid doing what so many have done before him. There goes Combined getting out of his way.
Oh, Cello's in the wall at 14, just gone too deep.
Well, I'm amazed he didn't come in. Because he's got wing damage. In quite a large portion of it. I can understand not changing the wing to try and save time in the last few laps, but surely you want intermediate tyres to try and make that life a little bit easier for you.
He's got to pit this lap. He surely will. Panda's done a good job to pull a massive gap on him. Although he's on medium tyres, he needs to be careful not to speed too much in the pits as he's easy in there. Yeah, this... I just wish the field was a bit tighter, because this would throw some absolute chaos around and maybe panic in some drivers if there was just a little bit closer. I want to see what Ben the Bear does though.
He's not touching the throttle. Not all the way. His foot is well and truly off of the floor. Usually it'd be to the floor for the Thai driver, but he is really careful. And this is bad news. Mikau could catch him here.
Oh my. Yeah, he really could. Geez, how close is he to the wall there? 34 seconds isn't enough for Mikau to catch him. That should be about a 9-second gap now as that's dropped to 33. But looks like Ben the Bear will pit. Yes,
he has
does.
to, surely, yeah.
Yeah, he is. My goodness.
So, a little bit of late drama here. Ben, of course, getting onto those intermediate tyres. Where is Mikau? It's not going to be close enough, like you said, for the overtake, I don't think. At least in the pit lane. But he might be able to get himself a little bit closer to the Mercedes for the overtake on track. Let's see. Here he comes. You can see him pushing a little bit, coming out of 21. Now through 22, 23. Mikau rounds the final corner. Ben is still in the pit lane. He's just exiting now. He can't cross that white line. Mikau is not very far behind him. The Australian can see Ben in his sight. You can see him there. 1.9 seconds. They got 1.6 as they come out of the pit lane. Ben has the ERS advantage. He's got the on-track advantage, and there's only 2 laps left. But he does have Mikau there. He cannot make a mistake. He cannot afford it now.
Yeah, you were exactly right. Ben cannot afford a mistake at all. He's got 2 warnings to his name, I believe. He's got 2 invalidated lap times in the penalty sections of his race director. So if he gets 1 warning, I believe he will be getting a penalty. And I could see him drop below Mikau as long as Mikau is within 3 seconds of him. Meanwhile, Combined YouTuber has overtaken Matt from that pit lane, from the pit stop for these inters. Just a reminder, Combined was proactive in pitting for inters earlier on, and that's allowed him to get by Matt, who may have struggled on those slick tires in these wetter conditions.
And we said as well earlier when Combined came in for those mediums that would be the case, that he closes the gap and might get him in the pit lane, and that is exactly what he's done. So a brilliant bit of strategy coming out of Combined YouTuber, and that's exactly what we were saying about Combined earlier. He may not be the fastest on track. Who is that? I think it's Sandees. He's had a problem. He is completely parked at the side of the road, letting the leaders by, but he's got damage as well. So I think he might have had an issue before letting them by. Mikau dropping off the rear of Ben the Bear quite substantially. Ben feeling quite comfortable in these conditions right now. So we shouldn't see too much there. Captain of Gold, he's dropped back quite a bit from Eccentric. You know, we did see him have that spin. He needs to be within 6 seconds if he wants the move done on penalties at the end of this one. I don't think we'll see it. But with the conditions, wouldn't be surprised to see another spin out of at least a couple of these drivers. I don't know whether we will see it because, you know, they're all on intermediates now, so it should be a little bit more stable. But most of them, I think, will be on dry setup. So that's what causes problems. There's an issue.
Hands in the wall. Singapore Sling strikes again as Pan's gone too deep and too hot into turn 10. I wonder if he's actually clipped the inside wall that exists on the inside of turn 10, but a bit of an odd spot to go off at, considering there's a decent amount of runoff and you can kind of slow yourself down enough there. But now he's going to have Combined on the back of him.
Well, he had damage. It took a while to get the camera shot there, but there was definitely debris in that wall. And he is missing a huge portion of the front right of his wing there. So Combined, even Matt could get past him here. And points are really on the table. Matt, his best ever qualifying for him was today. Can he round that out with his best ever finish today? Alfa Romeo driver,
so.
6 points to his name. It would be such an evening for him, or afternoon. And I think he is, of course, hailing from Britain, just as I am. But his best finish up until now, 8th place, I do believe, for him when we saw him take away a couple of points in Spa. Or 4 points to get for 8th, but...
Yeah, well, he's living on the edge there. With a twitch out of 23, last corner. He's putting a lot of pressure on Combined YouTuber, who I believe will, in a couple of corners, put a lot of pressure on Panda with that broken front wing.
Well, there they go. Penultimate lap. There's a lot of cars. We haven't seen a big battle like this since the opening few laps. You can see the spray now. Matt looking around the outside of Combined YouTuber. Combined defending that one with all he's got. And, well, Matt now looking at the inside into 8. You don't see that one too frequently, and especially not in the rain. It's not going to work out here for Matt. But Matt is hungry for points. He wants to increase his total. And right now, he is looking to about double it, I think, with 7th place. We'll see how he goes in terms of finishing potentially even in the top 5. What's the penalty difference? Matt has less penalties than combined, but he's made a little bit of a mistake. He needs to keep within 3 seconds of combined, and he needs to get Panda on track and then extend 3 seconds. And with Panda's damage, look at Panda struggling there as they come out of 13. It is possible here. In the late stages, Ben has crossed onto the final lap. He did that quite some time ago, actually. But they are not too far behind. We're all eyes on Panda, combined, Matt. Panda right now. The rain is getting so heavy. Combined is looking at it up the inside of 16. And Matt, what a move. Sneaks around the outside. Oh, they've come together. No. Oh, my goodness. Into the wall. Cello is here to pick up the pieces, both metaphorically and physically, as he goes through the front wing of what I think is the Alfa Romeo. It is. And the Ferrari. This is such tough luck for Matt, who was on for his best finish of his career. P8 in Spa. It was looking like it was going to be P7 here. Maybe even P6 in Singapore. But it's not to be for Matt, who drops down to P8. That is so unlucky for the Alfa Romeo driver. But we had to switch our attention, of course, to Ben the Bear. What a drive. What a performance. What a strategy from the Thai driver. He had the pace. The fireworks go off despite the rain. Ben the Bear wins. Mikau will come home in P2. Eccentric, he's going to come home 3rd place, but it's not going to be by much because he's got a whole host of penalties here. He crosses in 3rd. Captain Gold not quite close enough behind the Ferrari, and, well, even if he was, he just ended it there with a huge slide around the final corner. Well, there's big problems for Cello.
Yeah, he's gone down to remove a lunge down the inside at turn 8 on combined and didn't pay off. He nearly lost it as he trying to accelerate on the curb, and he's trying to get Panda as well. Panda is within reach. Remember, Cello has fresh front wing, no damage to his front wing, and Panda does. He's just trying to get by combined as well. We'll see how he goes here. He might go for a move down, a lunge into 13. Looks like he's got a good run on combined, but he's just being very careful. He goes for the lunge anyway. Down the inside, how is this going to go? Goes well. Combined gets a little nudge, has a traction. Cello gets good enough traction, but Combine's still there. They're side by side. Combined nudges ahead for now. Cello on the outside. He's going to try and outbrake him. And they're wheel to wheel. They touch again. Cello still holding on. Cello pushing forward. Great acceleration, but Combined is still there. And he'll back out for now, and Cello will slide through. Now, how's this going to go? He's got a couple of corners now to try and get Panda. Panda, that broken front wing.
He has to get it out of 21. I don't think there's any way he can get it through here under the grandstand. But maybe out of 21, maybe he finds something. It's going to be something sort of a miracle if he can. He's got ERS. He has to get a good exit here. Push now. Maybe he can find it. Panda defends the inside. Then swings back onto the line. And a little tap to the rear. That's not good. But here, maybe out of the final corner. Wants the run to the line. And straight into the rear of a parked Williams. But my oh my, I don't think he got him. But that's not what you want to see. Cello picks up P6. I think Panda secured 5th place. Eccentric driver of the day. No reason to not give it to him. What a drive we saw from him. From last on this grid to what I believe was P3. And there is the Ferrari driver. But Ben the Bear, for the 13th time this season, I do believe, picks up a race win. And once more, joining him on the podium, Mikau there. But Eccentric, what a drive from him. From 11th to 3rd. Hugely great drive and performance from him. But that final lap, those final couple of laps, that rain really provided a little bit of drama in the back of the field. But hopefully we'll get some interviews with your podium finishers in just a moment. But there are the standings. Ben the Bear wins with fastest lap. 26 points to the Thai driver for 1st place. And of course that 136.4. Look at the tyre. So much faster than everyone else is with that alternate tyre strategy. Mikau, P2 from 3rd on the grid. Able to beat the Mercedes of Captain Gold, who also got beaten by Eccentric on that alternate tyre strategy. 11th from 11th to 3rd place for him. Hards to mediums to intermediates. What a drive from Eccentric. Captain Gold not able to defend from the Ferrari. Picks up P4 from 2nd on the grid. Panda from 6th to 5th. A bit of a dramatic end to the race for him, but he still manages to claw home 5th place, and he will overtake Emzo in the standings, who didn't finish this race. Cello, Emzo's teammate in the other McLaren, 6th place for him. He should also overtake his teammate with that performance, I think, and take 6th in the standings. Matt, well, it is his best ever finish. We weren't sure it was going to happen for him, but he finished 8th in spot. He finishes 7th here after his best qualifying of 7th as well. So he doesn't lose or gain any positions across that race, but it could have been so much better for him. Combined YouTuber, again, also involved in that last lap tussle. He finishes 8th place in the Ferrari, so a good all of points for the Scuderia overall. Then, of course, Sandeezy in the Racing Point. Bit of a dramatic race for him from start to finish, not just on the last few laps, but throughout. He had a couple of battles here and there in the Racing Point. Dorshui, he picks up a singular point for Williams, 10th to 10th for him, and Emzo, the only person to retire from this race, in 11th place. But, well, that was a pretty interesting race. We'll see what happens with the interviews in just a moment. Hopefully, we can get them from at least a couple of the drivers. You can see Eccentric Mikkel there. I don't know whether Ben is available. But Seb, what a race. That was very, very interesting.
Well, tactically or strategy-wise, it could have turned out to be absolutely amazing. It didn't really live up to it, but the rain certainly brought a lot of excitement at the end. You know, we saw that battle and those dramas between that Alfa Romeo driver of Matt and Ferrari driver of combined YouTuber crashing into each other. Then you had that Cello just trying to fight his way through, literally pushing Panda through the final corners, but not able to get him for P5.
Well, let's get some interviews kicked off. First and foremost, Eccentric from 11th on the grid to a podium. What a strategy, what a race. Eccentric, congratulations. How are you feeling after that one?
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it feels really good. It's been a while since I had a good result, and I mean, it feels good to get the podium.
Well, firstly, we've got to talk about qualifying. You didn't set a lap. Was that deliberate? So, you know, or was that just a mistake in validations? Talk us through why you didn't set a lap in qualifying, because it worked out for you, but what was the thought behind that?
Yeah, I wanted to set a lap in the mediums, but I invalidated at the last corner. So, yeah, I was kind of disappointed at that. But, like, I could start on the hard, so, yeah, it was kind of a good thing and a bad thing at the same time.
Yeah, sort of a blessing in disguise there. The hards, they really, really worked out for you. We saw them sort of come alive for you in that sort of early mid portion of the race. Then, of course, you decided to come in for the mediums on the same lap as Ben. So you were behind him. You got past Captain Goal pretty quickly. Was that always your idea to come in for the mediums regardless of the rain? Because, you know, Seb had the idea here that you could have maybe pushed for the intermediates, or were you always just going to come in for the mediums at that midpoint?
No, I always wanted to come in. I came in like I think 1 or 2 laps earlier because I knew it was going to rain. But then I had that 6 seconds as well, so I needed as much time on the mediums to pull away from Cap. So yeah, I think I pitted on the right lap.
Well, the strategy certainly worked out for you. You know, it was just a superlative drive. You know, you really nailed the strategy there. You know, I think this is tied with your best finish. China, we saw you on the podium for P3 back when you weren't even in a Ferrari full-time seat. So for you, this is the first time we've seen you, you know, in the top 5 since you've become a full-time driver. So does that, you know, boost your confidence a little bit since it's been a while since we've seen you on the podium?
Yeah, definitely. It had been a while since after China, I got the full-time seat, and it's been a string of bad performances. A bit of my fault and a bit of luck as well. But it's finally good to put the Ferrari on the podium again.
Well, you've got a podium. We'll see if you can get another one next week in Russia. But Eccentric, thank you very much for taking the time to interview here. And again, huge congratulations for another podium.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Well, given that we haven't got Ben, Seb, I'll give this one to you. But Mikkel, from meeting you, great race. Another P2, another strong haul of points. But Seb, take it away.
Mikkel, solid race. Anything to say about that? Obviously very clean from you. You know, you had the challenge with Captain of Gold, but it looks like you outpaced him throughout the race. Any comments just of your feelings for this race?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy with the job that we were able to pull out today. Definitely a big bounce back from the disastrous race that we had in Monza last week. The car was feeling nice all throughout the week, both in the practice sessions and just really glad to be back on the podium, back in that runner-up spot. I hear that there might be some discussions with the stewards after the race, but no, we should be okay. And yeah, it was a good race. A bit lonely, but I mean it's the points that count, isn't it?
And you had an absolutely brilliant start, great launch, able to nearly get both Mercedes drivers off the start. Do you think that was key in making sure that Captain of Gold was able to fend him off? Because Captain of Gold did get caught behind Panda because of that.
Yeah, I mean, the start was definitely very important. It's been something that I've been trying to work on all week because my starts, while I had a great one in Monza last week, on the whole haven't been the best. But yeah, no, just was able to get the correct, perfect temperature on the formation lap, and kept the RPM pretty well close to optimal. Um, and yeah, I mean, the start was very good. Definitely very important to get in front of Captain of Gold as early as possible because we've been basically at the same pace all week. And I didn't know, I mean, being stuck behind him, knowing it's Singapore is quite difficult to overtake on, unless you really use up a whole lot of your resources. Definitely important, and good job from Panda as well to get an even better start than I did and get his way up into third place at one point.
Yeah, and just lastly, obviously we had that rain at the end. How was driving in the rain, especially with that dry setup and especially in the transition? How did you cope with that, and was that at all a tough challenge for you?
It certainly wasn't easy. No, especially when this track starts to get slippy, especially through turns 10 to 13. I basically had zero confidence in the car when it started drizzling down a little bit. Luckily, Jeff and I were able to get the changeover correct. No, I've had a few issues with Jeff in the past about getting the changeovers accurate, but we nailed it this far. Ben stayed out the extra lap, and I think that definitely helped in closing what was a monstrous gap that he had pace wise today. But yeah, definitely very challenging. Those last laps on the intermediates, certainly not the easiest of my career thus far, but certainly not the hardest either. I'm just glad to bring points home for the team from what has been a very, very tough couple of weeks here for us at AlphaTauri.
Well, thank you for that, and once again, congratulations on your P2 finish.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just Ben can't be, and he likes to send his regards to all the viewers and the fans as well. And he's just had to quickly dip after the race. And I'm sure he will come back as dominant as ever in Russia next week.
Well, that just about wraps everything up here for the APAC division around Singapore. That rain, Seb, at the end there really spiced things up, and I think, that last few laps between those guys for what was in effect P5, it became P6, and then it became P5 again, all sort of up and down, but a very, very dramatic end to a race that didn't see a lot of drama throughout, but still provided some great last lap action. But Seb, any closing remarks before we round out the stream?
Entirely no, just keen for. I will not be here next week. That is confirmed. I believe we will have Coolmatic, so look forward to that happening. But yeah, overall a decent race. Glad that rain came because it really made for some great drama. But as always, stay till next time. Stay.
Yeah, absolutely. That rain really did, spice things up at the end. But a big shout out to everyone who watched at home. We always appreciate the support for everyone watching along here on the YouTube and obviously on the Twitch as well. Obviously, this race will be here forever under the live stream category, but highlights for all of our races are posted here as well as track guides, meme videos, that kind of thing. So make sure you're subscribed for when all of those things go live, as well as follow us on our Twitch and all of our other socials to see, the Instagram posts, everything of that nature. And of course, a massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. If you're looking for a sim racing rig, wheel stand, motion sim, that kind of thing, be sure to check them out in the link in the description down below. And they're doing awesome things for the sim racing community and really helping us out, so we'd really appreciate it if you did But of course, this being YouTube, we can't raid a member of the community, but we can, of course, end it out with the outro. So until next time, F2 tonight with me and Alex Biddo. We'll see you in the next one.
We are back. We are back with some tier 1 action.
And that is the AlphaTauri of Adrian straight head on into the Red Bull. And the Kai Bacchini has joined the party, and he's on these medium compound tires in the Merc. Is very late braking from the Ferrari. He locks up and he blocks Zamis. And who is that? That is Jean with a fantastic exit, and he is going to get ahead of both of them here. So I believe it's crossing the line now, checkered flag. Adam and Bajarin the first two to catch it early. Vettel now rounding the final two turns of 22 and 23 here in Singapore. The Racing Points collect the 1-2. Battery, there goes Ben the Bear now just ahead, taking the checkered flag, coming through the Casio triangle. It's still wheel to wheel between these two. Mick out with a great traction. Oh, what a run out of the chicane, and he gets it done. How's the exit for the Ferrari? Good so far. You can see wheel to wheel coming down the straight into turn 4. It's the Ferrari leading through. Ben, wheel to wheel now with Revo, and he has so much pace in this Racing Point right now. It's wheel to wheel between these two. How's somebody gonna go? He's drifted off. Does the exit? What an exit out of the Williams. Does he get him? There's a big snap. Jake looking on the inside of 8 and 9. It's the Mercedes coming around the outside of 9. Does he get this move done on Tim? This is huge. This is absolutely massive. A drag race coming through 10 now down into 11. Here we go, and Zamis has the popcorn.
So Yukio tries to turn in, and Domi just says,
Oh, the stars.
Goes for a second.
What a move from the stars. That is the Renault of Van Putten up the inside of the Williams into turn 1. Freeware's gonna get Yoda. Freeware's gonna get Yoda.
Yoda wins the race!